ये लो भाई और कैमरा ये
हमारे अतिथिगण हमारे बीच आ चुके हैं। तो अगर मुझे इस मिट्टी की मैं देश नहीं मिटने दूंगा, मैं देश नहीं झुकने दूंगा, मैं देश नहीं मिटने दूंगा। नमस्कार। प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी द्वारा घोषित इन पंक्तियों के साथ केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय जम्मू में मैं आपका हृदय की गहराइयों से स्वागत करती हूँ। आप सब भली भांति परिचित हैं कि हम बहुत ही जल्द स्वतंत्रता की 75वीं वर्षगांठ मनाने जा रहे हैं। भारत के उत्थान में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का योगदान भी अविस्मरणीय है। मोदी एट 20 ड्रीम्स मीट डिलीवरी हमारे कर्मठ नायक के राजनीतिक जीवन के योगदानों को दर्शाती है। इसी पुस्तक की परिचर्चा का आज एक विशेष कार्यक्रम आयोजित किया जा रहा है। इस परिचर्चा में भाग लेने के लिए हमारे बीच अति विशिष्ट बुद्धिजीवी अतिथि उपस्थित हैं। मैं उनका स्वागत करती हूँ। माननीय डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी, राज्य मंत्री भारत सरकार, प्रधानमंत्री कार्यालय, कृषि विज्ञान मंत्रालय, कार्मिक लोक शिकायत एवं पेंशन मंत्रालय, परमाणु ऊर्जा विभाग एवं अंतरिक्ष विभाग। श्री सुरजीत सिंह भल्ला जी, कार्यकारी निदेशक, इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड। प्रोफेसर प्रदीप श्रीवास्तव, कार्यकारी निदेशक, डिफेंस। केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय जम्मू के कुलाधिपति एम्बेसडर जी पार्थसारथी जी, केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय जम्मू के कुलपति प्रोफेसर संजीव जैन एवं इस सभागार में उपस्थित सभी अति विशिष्ट अतिथियों का स्वागत है। भारतीय संस्कृति में हर शुभ कार्य को दीप प्रज्वलन के साथ आरंभ किया जाता है। मैं मंच पर आसीन अतिथिगणों से प्रार्थना करूंगी कि वो इस परंपरा को आगे बढ़ाते हुए दीप प्रज्वलन करने के लिए प्रस्थान करें। हम आशा करते हैं कि ज्ञान का प्रकाश हमारे जीवन में सदा हमें आगे बढ़ने की प्रेरणा देता है। भारतीय संस्कृति में हर शुभ कार्य की शुरुआत दीप प्रज्वलित के साथ की जाती है। मैं मंच पर आसीन अतिथियों से अनुरोध करती हूँ कि दीप प्रज्वलन के लिए मंच के नीचे बना।
Shri Sujit Singh Balaji, Executive Director, International Monetary Fund, Ambassador G. Madhusari Sir, the Chancellor of Central University of Jammu, Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Sanjeev Jain, a special guest Sri Pradeep Srivastava, Executive Director from TFAC. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this panel discussion on a book titled Modi at 20, A Dreams Meet Delivery. As you know, in 2021, our Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji completed 20 years office as a head of government. He was a chief minister, then he's now prime minister. It is believed that his period, this 20 years, is being considered as a defining moment of Indian history, and that we are all witness to that. So a group of galaxy of and eminent personalities, intellectuals, and domain experts, they have come together and authored a book titled Modi at 20. This book explores how the Gujarat as well as Gujarat has seen a fundamental transformation, and also India is now being witnessed the same fundamental transformation in the last 20 years due to unique the Modi model of governance. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us an eminent panelist. It is very rare, a unique combination, I would say. But we have Honorable Minister. He has been since 2014, as we all know, involved in various governance aspects and also the implementation of the government policies. We have also with us the eminent economist, Shri Sujit Singh Bhallaji, is a renowned economist, executive director of the International Monetary Fund, and he was also part of Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, and also one of the authors. We also have an interesting diplomat, career diplomat, and also an honorable Chancellor, Ambassador G. Parthasarathy, as a panelist here. It's a very rare competition where you have such a intellectual persons to discuss about this book. At the outset, I, on behalf of Central Minister Jammu, welcome our Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us despite your busy schedule. Our chief guest, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, doesn't require an introduction, as he is the son of the soil and also a sort of mentor and guiding spirit of Central University of Jammu. As you all know, due to his effort, the Central University of Jammu has got a ISRO Research Center. It is first of kind in the entire North India for space and technology research. And this has put indeed the Central University of Jammu in the national league. We are very grateful to you, sir, for being with us. I'm equally delighted to welcome our special guest and one of the authors, Professor Sujit Singh Bhallaji. He is currently the Executive Director of International Monetary Fund, looking after Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and India. He was earlier, as I mentioned, the part-time member of Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, advising economic policy of the government. He holds PhD in economics from Princeton University. Once again, on behalf of Central University of Jammu, I warmly welcome you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Also welcome our worthy Chancellor, Ambassador Shri Parthasarathy Ji, who has been a father figure to our university. And sir, we are indeed feeling blessed with your presence here. Thank you very much, sir, for raising this occasion. Last but not the least, I welcome the dignitaries, starting from Dr. Ashok Bhan. He is a former ADGP. Thank you very much, sir. We warmly welcome you to this program. Shri Gangaji, former minister, warmly welcome to this program. Professor S.K. Sinha, Vice Chancellor, Shri Mata Vaishno University. We warmly welcome you to this program. Thank you very much for being with us, sir. Also, I would like to welcome N.S. Jonwal, ADGP retired, Border Security Force. Thank you very much for us being with us, sir. With UBC, we warmly welcome and welcome all the dignitaries. Some of the names I might have missed, and we, on behalf of Central Minister of Jammu, I welcome all the dignitaries. Thank you very much for being with us. Now, I would also extend my warm welcome to the media members from the media persons, the deans of various schools of Central University of Jammu, the heads of the department, faculty members, scholars, students, and other invitees. All of you, a warm welcome to all of you. The last but not the least, I warmly welcome on behalf of our CUJ faculty fraternity, Professor Sanjeev Jain. He is the mastermind of this program, and being a moderator, I warmly welcome you, sir. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity and making this such a unique program. We have seen some of these programs in other places in the internet, but this is a unique competition. We have got a very good panelist. Thank you very much, sir, for your support and or suggesting us, guiding us to organize this. Once again, I welcome you all, and we will be having a very interesting book discussion on this themes which have been mentioned. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
थैंक यू डॉक्टर जगन्नाथन। आप सबके साथ मुझे बहुत हर्ष के साथ बताना चाहती हूँ आपको कि प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के कार्यकाल में जो भी कल्याणकारी और विकास की गतिविधियां हुई हैं, हमारे विश्वविद्यालय में हमने उनके ऊपर एक छोटी सी डॉक्यूमेंट्री फिल्म बनाई है। मैं चाहूंगी कि वो डॉक्यूमेंट्री फिल्म चलाई जाए और इसके लिए मैं धन्यवाद देती हूँ डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ मास कम्युनिकेशन एंड न्यू मीडिया और उनकी शिक्षक डॉक्टर अर्चना कुमार जी।
मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, आज मैं अपनी बात की शुरुआत एक वेद वाक्य के साथ करना चाहता हूं। पूतम में दक्षिणे हस्ते जयो में सत्य आधिका। इस बात को भारत के संदर्भ में देखें तो बहुत सीधा साधा अर्थ यही है, हमारे देश ने एक तरफ कर्तव्य का पालन किया तो दूसरी तरफ उसे बड़ी सफलता भी मिली।
नमस्कार, मैं वंशिका कक्षा नदी से केंद्रीय विद्यालय केंद्र डिस्ट्रिक्ट कार्यालय से हूँ। जैसे कि कुछ समय पहले हमारे स्कूल में पोस्टर मेकिंग कॉम्पिटिशन हुआ था, तो मैंने इससे भाग लिया था। हमारे जो विद्यालय से 22 बच्चे गए थे पोस्टर मेकिंग में, जिसमें से एक मैं थी। तो जो मेरा जो पोस्टर था उसमें मैंने प्रधानमंत्री जी की कुछ जो स्कीम्स एंड योजनाएं हैं उनको दर्शाने की कोशिश की थी, जैसे कि फिट इंडिया, क्लीन एनवायरनमेंट, एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत और ऐसे बहुत सारी थी। जिसमें मैंने कुछ टॉपिक्स में एवोल्यूशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 3 को हटाया गया था। मेरे पोस्टर में इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा बताया। इसके अलावा चालू योजना और हमारा इंडिया जैसे डेवलप कर रहा है उनके बारे में बताया, जैसे प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना और सुकन्या समृद्धि योजना। मैंने सबके बारे में बताया। इसके अलावा जैसे रिटर्स है हमारी इंडिया के पास, मैंने उसको भी थोड़ा सा कवर किया हमारे इसके अलावा मैं हमारे जो ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर को धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगी कि उनकी वजह से हमारा इंडिया और डेवलप कर रहा है। हमारा इंडिया बहुत ही जल्दी डेवलप कर रहा है और इन सब में उनका हाथ है। वो बहुत अच्छी स्कीम्स लॉन्च कर रहे हैं, इसकी वजह से जो हमारी सोसाइटी की 4 सेक्शंस है वो भी बहुत जल्दी डेवलप कर रहे हैं। उन्होंने सड़कें बनवाई हमारे लिए और टीकाकरण हुआ सभी का कोविड-19 के चलते, और उन्होंने शौचालय भी बनाए और उन्होंने बहुत सी ऐसी योजनाएं और भी शुरू करी जिससे भारत में बहुत से बदलाव आए। इसलिए मैंने उनसे प्रेरणा लेकर अपने पोस्टर में बताया था और मैं इसलिए नरेंद्र मोदी जी का धन्यवाद भी करना चाहती हूँ। मैंने पोस्टर में कॉम्पिटिशन में भाग लिया था, जिसमें कि मैंने दिखाया था कि मोदी जी ने कैसे कोविड के टाइम में लोगों की मदद की थी और कैसे उनको अनाज खाना पहुंचाया था और उन्होंने फ्री वैक्सीनेशन भी की थी। और हमें मोदी जी से ये प्रेरणा मिलती है कि हमें लोगों की मदद करनी है। धन्यवाद।
प्रधानमंत्री का बड़ा शुक्रिया अदा करनी है कि जेडी पहले अभी तक तकलीफ होंगी आज 10 बड़े काम करने रुके प्रधान।
जी मेरा नाम प्रताप सिंह है। मैं स्कूल चलाना वाला ते जेड़ा असी थोड़ा अपने दूसरा रही बनाना जिले असे बड़ा बड़ी है ਇਹਦੇ ਜੈਸੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਸ ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਕਿ ਸਕੀਮ ਗਵਰਨਮੈਂਟ के सामने जो सारी है 2-3 वाला है बड़ा करवाने का जो वाला ये सारे जिन्हें भी जिम्मेदार है एडवोकेट के लिए खास मिलियन दी है
अगला ये मोदी का ले लिया ठीक है भाई मुझे छुट्टी है हाँ ठीक है मेरा मजा है ना हमारे सारे जगह मजा है रात या से हमारा था ये मैं मजा नहीं हुआ
इससे धुआं वगैरह बड़ी परेशानी होती है हमें। अभी हमें मोदी जी ने जो स्कीम निकाली है, जो हमें गैस सिलेंडर फ्री में दिए हैं, तो उसकी वजह से हमें काफी मदद हो गई है उनकी। तो हम आसानी से खाना बना सकते हैं अपने अंदर बैठ के।
तो देखा आपने कैसे संसार चंद और युवकिशोर को इलाज करवाना आसान हुआ, कैसे सोनिया रेड्डी और ज्योति देवी के लिए खाना बनाना आसान हुआ, कैसे करतार सिंह को खेती करने में मदद मिली और कैसे गांव में स्वच्छ भारत के तहत सुलभ की सुविधा मिली। ये सब साकार हुआ हमारे प्रधानमंत्री के नेतृत्व में। जो कभी सपने हुआ करते थे आज वो हकीकत में बदल रहे हैं। इसीलिए आओ मिलकर कहें, मेरा देश बदल रहा है, आगे बढ़ रहा है।
This documentary has given a glimpse of all the development activities that have been taken under the direction of our Honorable Prime Minister. We are deeply grateful for them. Now we come to the main section of today's program, which is having a panel discussion around the major themes of this book, Modi at 20, Dreams Meet Delivery. First of all, I request Ambassador G. Parthasarathi, Chancellor St. Booster of Germany, to express his ideas about India's foreign policy, vision and achievements.
The Honorable Minister of State in the Prime Minister's Office, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, Lord friend and fellow scholar of international relations, Sushil Balla, Vice Chancellor Sahab, who always guides me on what is needed to be done. Pradeep Vyas. Sorry. Now, I had really prepared myself to follow the minister's intent. He's kindly asked me to speak ahead. And the subject being the book which I read carefully on Modi ji. May I say to start with, everybody should read it. It's a very well crafted book, and that is the most important thing. And I would sincerely hope, since the minister is here, that this is equally circulated. It really merits, because this is a serious study by serious people, one of whom we have here, Sushil Balla, as an eminent economist, now with the International Monetary Fund. What I'd like to start with is by saying something about the book. The book starts off with a foreword by Riani, the queen of music, Lata Mangeshkar, who hasn't heard her voice. And Lata Mangeshkar, to me, is really epitome of musical glory of our country. And when she pays tribute to a Prime Minister for the first time, that is Mr. Modi. And it's very sincere description. It goes to the extent of Mr. Modi's reach from all sections of society, whether they're in cultural life, whether they're in education, whether they're in work, whether they're in politics. But it is a tribute, as I said, for a person who has, but Lataji was really known as the Nightingale of India, the architect including childhood. If she pays this tribute, that this is beyond people who have some vested interest in games. So she has achieved the ultimate with the Bharat Ratna. And I, from my school days in the 1950s, remember her songs. It's just music. And this is, I think, the best, a good start itself to the book, which covers also other subjects like self-reliance, strategic independence. So I think this book aptly represents the aspirations of India and the role of a Prime Minister who is highly respected today in molding. The book also, I would like to say, apart from we hear what Mr. Bala says about his studies of success of people and by described the policy approach, which is attributed to his studies of Mr. Modi's performance, of Mr. Modi's contribution to a modern India. Now, there are two other persons who are both personal friends, and that's where I get into diplomacy. Ajit Dovan, National Security Advisor, Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister. Ajit and I spent time together in Pakistan in the early 1980s. I was in Islamabad, I was in Karachi. And Jaishankar is a family friendship with 3 generations. And both, I think, Mr. Modi's capabilities or foresight in picking people for national security and foreign policy. Such skill is really incredible. As I said, I met Ajit in Lahore when the Indian cricket team was there, and I was looking out, and I was in Karachi, he was in Islamabad, and he told me, "आपको एक व्यक्ति से मिलाना है और क्रिकेट टीम को वहाँ ले जाना है." I said, "Fine." It was a junior minister from Punjab by the name of Sharif, Nawaz Sharif, and it was not too far later he met with the Prime Minister of Pakistan. That was the sort of foresight of the studies. Jaishankar really comes from heritage, wherein his father was the prime contributor to India's nuclear program and our nuclear weapons program. He pushed it at the time. So Jai has inherited many of the qualities of the father. And therefore, I think again, what I'm looking at is the way the Prime Minister could choose people, discern people. Now, they have both written their pieces in this work. Ajit's is really a contribution to geopolitics, and it is quite remarkable. Then the Lowell's presence also includes self-reliance, fighter aircraft, and India does not let others down. Jaishankar deals on the strategic dependence, the importance of oil and energy diplomacy. So you will find that even in his national security advisor or his external affairs minister, the prime minister has chosen people who take not just an interest in their work, security or foreign policy, but in the economy. And really the difference that Mr. Modi has made is, as in his job as Prime Minister, I've worked with every Prime Minister in government since Jawaharlal. And I can say that his contribution is unique because he recognized the role that security and foreign policy play in the economic welfare of the people. That was very different from others. Others may have a political approach, economic approach, socialistic approach, whatever. But linking our relations with other countries, to the prosperity of the people of India is Mr. Modi's contribution. Now, I think the important part of Mr. Modi's foreign policy is you are living in a complicated world with three major world powers: United States, Russia, China. I can assure you this, that even when I was in Soviet Union, during the Bangladesh conflict, the Russians stood by us. They backed us to the hill. By that time, economic liberalization had come, everybody was rushing to America. Mr. Modi realized that in the security interest of India, we have to balance these three powers. And he's done a pretty good job of it. China, we have serious problems, and I can also tell you that China does take decisions which are seriously affect our security. What is not known to very well or spoken about is that what a friend of mine, a specialist on Pakistan, told me, that Pakistan has no nuclear weapons program. There is a Chinese nuclear weapons program in Pakistan. Now, that is the sort of thinking which Mr. Modi works with. That between these three, you balance. For example, with the Americans, we have alliances called Quad, which is to India, Australia, Japan, and the USA, and that looks to our east. Though it covers the Indian Ocean, it looks to our east. More recently, which is not known now, because if he plays it low key till it moves, is an organization known internationally as U2I2. U2 is Ukraine and the USA. I2 is India and Israel. Look at it this way. Mr. Modi looks eastwards, and we have to deal with China with one set of alliances, the Quad. He looks to alliances to our west by the U2I2 group. Therefore, there is a strategic sense in everything which has occurred in the last 4 years, last 6 years. That this has developed. And contrary to popular perception, and everybody says Pakistan, we don't look at it. The fact of the matter is, Mr. Modi does look at Pakistan. If you recall, he went to the extent of attending the wedding of Nawaz Sharif's daughter. Now that is a gesture, but the fact of the matter is that Pakistan is a country which is ruled by the military, and there's much the Prime Minister can or cannot do. When I was in Pakistan, Ukraine broke out, the entire thing, I'm sorry, the problems in the Himalayas broke out, the Siachen problem broke out, and it was the military which ran the show. Now, within one term, to get this grasp that while Pakistan has a democratically elected government, the citizens are democratic, to get the understanding of the complexities of the China-Pakistan relationship, and yet dealing with both of them is crucial. Because we need peace and free from terrorism, and we also need prosperity through economic cooperation. So the basis of foreign policy of Mr. Modi has been a firm agreement. Coming to more recent days, you would see it in the neighborhood, in the case of Sri Lanka. I'll give a small example. If I go 5 before times, the fact of the matter is that in Sri Lanka, the Chinese before Mr. Modi took over were gaining ground. They had built the Hambantota port, which gave them access to the Indian Ocean, which threatened us. They had even worse still, the port of Colombo to the Chinese to manage and to run and to develop. What sake, all our military supplies comes through Colombo. So these were the security implications he was able to study, he was able to handle. And the fact is, but the other thing is, he never took anybody as an enemy or he handled hostile. It had to be handled diplomatically, economically. And in the case of Sri Lanka, this is contemporary and recent. Do you know that? And the advantage with him, there is a team of Doval and Jaishankar who can look after economic and security. In Sri Lanka today, we have got an adjacent side on the other side of the Colombo port, the contract to go ahead and use it. So what does that mean? It means in security terms, everything we have. Likewise, in the case of the current economic strategy which we are faced with, Mr. Modi was the first person, despite the fact we are not amongst the richest and China has about 5 times or 10 times our foreign exchange reserves. We were the first persons in just most Mr. Modi's instructions after we sent Jaishankar to visit. We have been the first persons to extend $3.8 billion by way of assistance to Sri Lanka. You do that for a country when it is suffering. That is something they will never forget. And it has an economic dimension. And lastly, the Chinese had also grabbed 4 islands where they were supposed to set up power plants right on our maritime boundaries with Tamil Nadu. Jaishankar was set by Modi, got that reversed, and those power plants have been handed over to us. One of the reasons China is not provided much assistance to Sri Lanka is precisely what has happened. It is that the cost, it is because of successful diplomacy. So I would say that we've handled, and the Russia, China, and America thing has been handled very firmly. Let us be real. Even to build your new aircraft carrier, you had this Russian assistance. You had it for the submarines. Our defense modernization has a very large Russian budget. Why should we get involved in something we are involved in? And they have, believe me, they have good reasons for doing what they did. That doesn't matter. But he has managed to maintain our independence, our strength, while the Americans have turned around. That is the crucial. They recognize that you can't ignore Russia and Ukraine because 40% of the export of wheat all across the world is from these 2 countries. Half of Africa will starve. So he had anticipated this. So I think, as I said, this is unique period of our foreign policy when India has become, for the present, across the Indian Ocean region, which is in history we never controlled. And if you take it from the Straits of Malacca to the Straits of Hormuz, West Indian influence and Indians influence. And my own feeling is the Chinese, the way they're going with Pakistan, they are going to make it another Sri Lanka or attempt to make it another Sri Lanka. They will also ask us something. And I'd like to conclude with this, that all you young people here, remember, you're living in a period of history when the entire world view of India and the entire view of India by the world is changing. That here is a country which can stand on its own, can hold its own, and can deliver its own people prosperity and security. And as I said, I would like to conclude on one thing that my own, and this is rather personal, that oddly enough, I had a meet Mr. Modi for the first time when he was the General Secretary of the party, and then subsequently. And I worked for him for heading a project on Sardar Patel almost immediately after his assumption of office. I felt honored to do it. Sardar Patel was someone we all respected. But the exhibition, which was followed and is now where the statue of Sardar Patel is, was done, I think, as the Minister of State is here. He knows his contribution from day one. One person who had the highest respect, and now, 60 years after independence, is getting the recognition and praise that he required. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening words. It is always enriching to listen to your words of wisdom and your enriching experiences about international matters. So we are very grateful that you are here with us today. I feel immense pleasure in inviting our next panelist, who has always endeavored to bring Jammu to the center stage of development. I invite Honorable Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, MOS, PMO, US, DAE, DST, Earth Science, and PPGP. He is going to speak about a new paradigm in governance.
Seated on the dais, Rohit Economist, Mr. Bhalla, Mr. G. Parthasarathy, whom I can take the credit of having brought him to Jammu for the first time. It was about 5 or 6 years back. The Central University was in meeting. Having known him for quite a few years, I called him up and I said, I have a small suggestion to make, so can I have a word with you? He was very kind, actually, to drop in at my residence himself. And I said, we have decided to have you as the Chancellor of the newly established Central University. We want to give exposure to Jammu, which is beyond the area of Germany. And at least the same was the case with, I think, the other person, Dr. Radhakrishnan, who was on our request to go as the advisor for the space department which is being set up in this. And of course, Dr. Srivastava is associated with one of the organizations which is affiliated to my ministry, members of the faculty, prominent leaders, leaders. Usually in India, we don't have the culture of having very serious discussions on the books. So when we tend to discuss a book, we rather discuss it as if it is a political debate instead of getting into the academics of it or trying to do research of it. And in fact, that is sometimes disappointing because the other day only I was seeing on people YouTube discussion. They're talking everything but not the book. So talking in general about this Mr. Modi, of course, that is very well taken. But I think the objective of this book is entirely different. And therefore, to begin with, the two questions that we have to ask ourselves and try to address is, what is Modi at 20? And two, why Modi at 20? When you say, what is Modi at 20? The answer is threefold. Here is the only Indian leader who has completed 20 years as head of government, 12 years as chief minister, and then subsequent 18 years as prime minister. Secondly, he is a rare case where a chief minister, incumbent chief minister, directly takes over the position at the office of prime minister. Usually doesn't happen. And thirdly, because having worked with him and seen him for nearly 9 years, here is a unique personality who, before becoming chief minister in 2001, as was being mentioned, he became chief minister. Before that, he had never held a government office. Never been a part of administration. He was never in active politics. He had never contested an election. He was more or less engaged in organizational activities, and suddenly he was put into the government. So that is the answer to what is Modi at 20. Now the second question, why Modi at 20, for which this book is inspired. Because Modi's success story is in fact the success story of a governance model which has sustained for 20 years. That is something for all of us, serious students and scholars, to learn about. That's why I said we better concentrate on the book as IT should be. It would lead us to a lot of enlightenment, which would help us also in the years to come. And when we say why Modi at 20, as I said, here is a sustainable model of governance which continues for 20 years and promises to continue even beyond 20 years. B, there is a famous principle of diminishing returns. Instead of 20 years of this governance model getting intimidated or affected by the principle of diminishing returns, it has defied that principle and it has continuously yielded progressively increasing returns. You see any head of the state anywhere in the world, beginning from Winston Churchill downwards, they've all suffered that principle at one point in time. Even lost elections. There's the other way around. And third, most important, why Modi at 20 is that here is a governance model in the general which we are presenting to you, which has over the last 20 years grown stronger with every successive challenge. The more you challenge, the more it grows stronger. Just like attacking a strong person, gradually hitting outer bones, it gets weaker. Here's the other way around. I know how many of you would recall that when he took over as chief minister in 2001, he was immediately confronted with the challenge of a devastating earthquake at Bhuj. And the last challenge when he completes 20 years is that of COVID. So he defeats the 1,000 boom theory. The more you strike, the stronger the model emerges. And therefore, this book that we discussed this afternoon is actually a subject which is based around the character, of course, and the shades, the different shades of 20 years. And that's why it has to be seen. That's why I said, very often I find the discussion happening about the book, but not per se about the book, which actually does not leave us as educated as it should have. And therefore, I see Modi at 20 essentially as a research study, as a thesis. It's up to us how much we are able to invite, or we just make a political speech in a panel discussion like this and get off, which all of us are very good at doing. Because is it not a matter of research, ladies and gentlemen, that when Modi came in, he virtually had no experience in governance. And here, under this roof, we are discussing governance model led by him. This itself is a paradigm. This itself is a paradox of the history, even in the world. You are discovering, you are discussing, you are trying to research into a governance model which was initiated by someone who was totally new to the realms of governance. And therefore, that should, because having been with him, he once asked me, what have you learned from me? I said, simply watching you out. For 2 years back. So then how does it happen? How does this phenomenon happen? You have to understand, there are some inherent traits in this individual which might have persisted as a right from his unquenchable quest to understand things. Goes deep into the subject. It's not like many of the ministers getting briefed by the officers and then delivering a speech. You just try once with Mr. Modi. Officers go to brief him, come back brief. Because before that, he's already studied the subject more in depth. So I often say he's more of a resource person than that. And be it any subject. वो जो जिज्ञासा जिसे आप कहते हैं, ना कभी खत्म होने वाली. His long hours of introspection on innovation, always innovating how to develop it into a new experiment, a new idea. He spends hours doing that. Which of course, I speak to you in a few moments. We have in this book also, like aspirational district is a new concept, which is totally innovative. Like assistant secretary, whom I was addressing yesterday, 3 months of internship for IAS officers, entirely new concept. This happens when you get involved in a subject and then you keep thinking, focus on it, new ideas start generating, and then you develop. And third, his intimate connect with the ground. So that all these attributes helped him to become what he was, to develop a model that we are discussing, even though he had not been formally groomed through that, trained through that. When I say connect, I'll just give you a small example. He was just 5 days into the office of Chief Minister. We have prepared for which had happened. The officers were there to brief him. After the briefing, he said, no, I think we need to have another briefing. It was around Thursday. He said, my suggestion is that all of you should go to the affected area, spend 2 days, 2 nights, come back and we'll have a briefing on Monday. When he came back on Monday, they themselves confessed that we have learned many things which we were not actually briefing you about. And what we have seen there is also educated about. So the planners, the executors themselves, that was his connect with the ground, because he could see there was a missing gap happening. And that had stayed with him all these years, even before he became a chief minister. Now this book has almost about 21 chapters. Each one indicates a different aspect of it. But if you read between the lines, I can give you an inkling of what makes a success story. We live to learn. At least I have made a principle for myself to learn one new thing every day. For example, a chapter by Jaishankar. It may not be there, but Jaishankar told me otherwise. He said when he was telling me when he was a president in China, and he was told that Chief Minister of Gujarat was to come. So like a good ambassador and the deal, they prepared all the protocol and hospitality. The Chief Minister landed late night after midnight, and they were preparing for him to go for rest and be up for the next day. The Chief Minister after that, he says, I want to have a briefing immediately because I want to start my day early to save time. They were not prepared for that. But now Jaishankar told me that day, having seen you and having seen all of you, I think now this has become a norm for all the ministers working remotely. So that 24/7 focus and to be in a haste to finish things. Then there's an interesting story by Sudha Murthy, this Nine Murthy. She narrates the story of a lady who worked as a maid in a house called Sarla over 25 years ago. Sarla had a small infant daughter, always bothered about what would be her fate, so she would say, one day I'll make her capable of making small livelihood for herself, etc., etc. And then time passed off, she went her way. And Ms. Murthy also went on to become what she has become. Very recently, she had conducted an interview to select some of the technical executives, and they found a young, smart girl who was unanimously accepted as most suitable for the job. So the girl started working next year. A couple of months passed. Like good professionals as we have in the corporate sector, we don't get into personal lives of each other as we do in the offices. We talk about everything except the office work. We talk more about our family. It's not like that because 6 months later, this girl whose name is Sapna comes one day, seeks appointment with ma'am, says, ma'am, today is my birthday. I wanted to wish you, and I've got this packet of sweets for you. When Sudha Murthy tastes that sweet, she's taken back. She says, this is my favorite sweet. How did you get it? And who prepared it? She said, ma'am, you don't know because you were never told. I'm daughter of that housemaid or Sarla who worked for you 20 years ago and used to prepare this favorite sweet dish for you. So that, in a way, now it's up to us to understand. We are like a good student of research, you have to understand this. To my mind, to my understanding, this is the story of the awakening of aspiration, which has happened in 20 years. There was a time you would struggle for a Fiat car, for a scooter, and then you would go on. Now you have aspiration to have everything because you think you can reach out. That is what has happened. That is, I think, the message from Sudha Murthy. We have PV Sandhu about Khelo India. Of course, I think one of the important contributions is sports in this country is no longer a khel, it's become a profession. We receive recommendations from parents, somehow get them into coaching because they make the career. Devi Shetty, of course, has spoken about pandemics. There is a chapter by Amit Shah titled Democracy, Delivery and Politics of Hope. And that exactly is an interpretation how the dreams have been delivered. Dream was conceived, for example, for MSME, but it reached the person who was read for. It was through direct benefit transfer that it reached. So delivery of dreams itself was a challenge, which has been accomplished. We'll talk in a couple of moments. If you recall, when he took over as Prime Minister on the 26th of May 2014, as some of us followed up with that small team, one of the earliest 2-3 statements made by him was that my government would be dedicated to the poor, to the neglected, to the victim. The second was equitable growth of every region and every section of society. And third, the most importantly, which the book also is dedicated, the maximum governance and minimum governance. Now, all across India, I have the occasion of making such discourses at least in 3 states every week because I'm not to be speaking more than doing other things. So often it's a misunderstood phrase. What is maximum governance? Minimum. What does it actually mean? It's not just a ornamental thing. The other day, I was trying to explain to Jenna, he said, we used to have a book by Budalia. You would remember. Budalia was the Vice Chancellor of Madras University, one of the world-renowned Calais colleges. Book written by him, Lakshman Swami Budalia, was read all over the world. So I was narrating that simile the other day in Chennai itself. He said, how do you treat a woman or handle a woman who is in labor pains? What should be the approach of the officer? The approach should be, I mean, the single phrase is masterly inattention. You attend to her, but inattentive. Don't be in haste. You're rushing for a cesarean. So remain inattentive, but inattentive, which is under your control. Masterly inattentive so that if he requires you, sir. Similarly, maximum or minimum government is the citizen rule himself. Let the things go by their own way, the least human interface, but wherever we are required, we come in. The government will not be there to intimidate, it will be there to facilitate. That is the crux of this governance model. The other part, most of these schemes launched by him, because I'm not going to the detail of it, you know, have somewhere or the other a deep connect with the common man, and they have also, without saying or writing, change the entire work culture and in fact the culture. For example, he was not distributing freebies. The poor was empowered to take care of himself. Because if you give poor, or if you give a deprived woman sewing machine, salai machine, she would not have the esteem. She might go back richer than before, but she would not have the esteem. But if you empower her to earn a sewing machine, then she keeps the esteem. I said that in the crowd during the election in Spain. I coined this word. I said, महिलाओं को क्या दिया? सुरक्षा, सम्मान और सुविधा. सुविधा दी शौचालय की. क्या वो इंतजार करती थी कि कब महिला पूरी छोड़े और हमें जाने का मौका मिले? सुविधा दी और सम्मान दिया इस वक्त. And ये नहीं पूछा कि एक हिंदू का, एक मुसलमान का, एक दलित का, एक ठाकुर का. So this governance model has actually, we may not realize it today, I'm sure next generation, it is going to change the entire approach and the culture with which the future rulers of this country are going to deliver. And I think what are the greatest attributes, personal attributes have been seen in, which have contributed to the making of this governance model are his capacity to take out of box decisions. And I'll just give you one instance, and so that for the brevity of time. Within 3 months of this government having come in, because these are not the things often talked about, we often talk about politics. Even the academicians tend to talk more in political jargon because that gets good coverage in the electronic media. Within 3 months of having taken over in May 2014, one of the earliest decisions that was taken was, because I am dealing with the Department of Sara Training, DOPT, administrative reform, which is mainly concerned with the governance, was to do away with the practice of getting your certificates and testifying. Now tell me, this was a dubious legacy of the British rule. It could have been done away right at the time of the British. Why was it done? Because nobody had the courage to get. And when I announced it in the media, somebody asked me, what if somebody fudges the certificate? I said, look here, we are trying to send a message across the country that now this is a government headed by Prime Minister Modi, which has the capacity to trust the youth of this country. When we say more than 70% are the population's youth, how can we do business without trusting them? Second, his capacity to break taboos of the past. The most striking example, unlocking of spaces. Nobody knew where is the Department of Space. Nobody knew where is this road. Rarely you found a small column news about some rocket being launched from Sriharikota. When I newly came into the Department of Space, the first week of June 2014, there was a launching PSLV. And Dr. Radhakrishnan was there, whom I know suggested you had taken over as your advisor. So he happened to be a friend also. He said in the late night when there's nobody around, I'll quietly take you to the place which is forbidden for all, and where you can see how the rocket gets launched. The morning to the launching was at about 5 o'clock. So he took me there about 10:30. He said, okay, this is a place where you can scientists can't. So I said, Dada, since I try to learn one new thing, what I learned today is that to reach here, either I should be as eminent a scientist as you are, or somehow manage to become Mr. in space. But on a serious note, that started bothering me. Why this wheel of secrecy? But I didn't imagine that this would ever be undone. Modi has done it 2 years back. And do you know? Within 2 years, we have more than 60 startups working in ISRO, including one from this Narayan, a boy of 60 years. They're working on nanocycling. And now the new emerging area of space debris, we have started that also. And thirdly, his capacity to convert a government campaign into mass campaign. You don't realize it. He's just spoke about Swachhata from Red Fort. लोगों ने मजाक भी किया होगा. But then what happened? Within 6 months, everybody picked up and started. In my own constituency, we had a girl studying in class 9. She was going home. खुद के पास एक गाँव में. She said, "I'll go to school only if there's a toilet." We got in touch with the collector who was that time, Ravinder Kumar, survey kiya. Toilets were constructed. 200 more such houses were discovered. People carried forward. Then similarly up there, another part of the constituency, I see 85-year-old Muslim lady went around from house to house asking them if they had built it up. Normally this doesn't happen. हमें ये समझ नहीं आ रहा क्योंकि हमारी आंखों के सामने आ रहा है और इतना सोचने का टाइम नहीं का सुबह उठते ही हम पहले देखते हैं सोशल मीडिया में क्या क्या मैसेज है. पुराने जमाने में अध्ययन करने का वक्त होता था वो भी मुश्किल हो गया. पुराने आप जरा ध्यान दीजिए सरकार के जितने बड़े बड़े कैंपेन हुए, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल वी हैड दिस कैंपेन हम दो हमारे दो हो सके हमारे दो. The campaign started in 1960 early. Because people didn't pick it up. Here, people pick up what he says. That is because the credibility that he has built for himself and for the model that he is presenting. Then, most of the governments take pride, the prime ministers take pride. जब रिटायर हो जाता है आदमी भी, प्रोफेसर भी जब हो जाता है. मैंने अपने जमाने में ये किया. मेरे ऐसे लगता है कि तुम्हारा जमाना तो गया गुजरा है. मैंने ये नया कानून लाया. Here is a government. I'm sure when the history of this government, of which fortunately I'm also a part, is written, we will be known for having done away with many कानून. 1600 नियम हटा दिए गए. One of them was also this attestation, second interview abolished, to provide a level playing field. Pensions, because these things are, but these are the things which are directly related to the common people. You had the practice of having to produce a life certificate. We thought we had digital means. Why do this? We started using biometry. Last year, somebody told me the biometry also fails because the lifespan is getting longer. So the teenage age. So we have started using face recognition technology. We were the first in the Department of Pension. Similarly for women. Do you know, problem क्या है कि हम unless we study, we will not even know what is being remedied. बीमारी का पता चला फिर उसके इलाज की भी प्रशंसा होती है. But the mind, the eye see only what the mind knows. But sometimes we don't know that we don't know. Perhaps large amongst us don't know that a separated daughter or a divorced daughter was not eligible to pension of her deceased parents, family. जब तक कि वो divorce का certificate. We noticed this last year. I said, why have it? Because they are court cases running for 25 years, 20 years. Just let her file a writ and we give her divorce. So we have done away with these. Similarly, सरकारी कर्मचारियों को शायद उसकी जानकारी हो. If a government employee dies and he has not completed 10 years of service, his family is not entitled to. Because we are, as I said, Modi's team is studying 24/7. You're getting deep into this. When I read this, I said, आपने पूछा क्या उसको कि भाई 10 साल में भी नहीं बनता. If you are not given the opportunity to choose the timing of his death, what right do we have to deprive him of this benefit? You've done away with that. आपके जम्मू कश्मीर में कानून था. If there is an abduction, if there is disappearance of an employee, no family pension, unless his dead body is discovered or 7 years have passed. कितने सारे लोग खत्म कर दिया उसको पिछले ही साल. मैं बोला था वो वापस आ जाएगा फिर क्यों वापस आएगा उसकी रिफॉर्म से निकालने. सरकार के पास कितने सारे विकल्प हैं. So the problem is that we find it convenient to live in status quo. Similarly, ease of governance for Modi is ease of living for people. Single portal, single window, सिंगल एग्जाम हम शुरू करने वाले हैं इस साल यूपी के लिए। सिंगल फॉर्म, पेंशन का फॉर्म मैंने खुद एक बनाया आज से 6 साल पहले। There was 4-page form and all kinds of details. If you die, who is entitled to family pension, you write down all the details. How many wives, how many times married? I said, if you are married twice, thrice, or you have 3 wives, are you giving 3 times pension? No. Then I do all this. So make it brief. Just date of birth, date of joining service, date of superannuation, and date of the next. The next lineage follows. There's a pattern later. It's your spouse, then your sibling, whatever. But unnecessarily, we were carrying on the legacy of the empire that existed before independence. So, in a way, and that also has now reflected in the working of our civil services, civil service. Because the role of a civil servant is evolving every day. Yesterday, for 2 days, I had the opportunity of being an IAS officer. I tell them every morning when you wake up, you give a thought to yourself, you realize your role has transformed overnight. And this phenomena started from the midnight of freedom, when the nomenclature of district had changed from collector to district government. Collector was the one who collected revenue for the British Empire. District government is the one who collects revenue for the public welfare. But we were never made to realize, because we were living the bliss of status quo. Now this change working style from the top percolated down. Now, as I said, the aspirational district, not necessarily backward. 41 indices were defined. A district may be very good in health parameters, may be lacking in it. How do you raise it to the level of #1 district of the state and then #1 of the country? So, competitive dashboard, you have a uniform saturation of all these districts. Because the word backward sounds a little impolite and also not a little rude. So, this is aspiration. Because we are into an aspiration. Grievance का ये हाल था in 2014, we used to get only 2 lakh complaints per year from across the country. And some of these states had developed a website but they never listed. So people have stopped listing those. Today we have 25 lakh complaints every year. When I presented this report to the media, तो उसने व्यंग किया, उसने कहा इसका मतलब आपके खिलाफ शिकायतें बढ़ गई, मोदी जी के खिलाफ शिकायतें बढ़ गई। मैंने कहा इसका जवाब 150 साल पहले बाबा वाले ने दिया कि जब तवक्को ही उठ गई मालिक को क्यों किसी का गिला करे। यू रजिस्टर कंप्लेन, अब आप रोकते भी हैं, घर में रोकते हैं ना कि कोई बना लेगी। तो जैसे वो गाना है कि मैं ये सोचकर उसके दर से चला था कि वो रोक लेगी मना लेगी मुझको, तो दर से ही वहीं रूट के चलते हैं। जब पता किसी ने मना नहीं तो दर चला। We followed a timeline. Every Friday evening, including me, all of us used to sit to calculate how many grievances have been disposed of. और अगर कोई लेट हो तो उसका रीजन देना। And we have now reduced that time even further. What I am trying to say is increasing accountability, increasing transparency, increasing citizen centricity, increasing citizen participation is one of the bases of the success of this governance model. I'm not going to the relevant projects that has happened because we are mainly confined to the governance. And another part which many of us, you may not be knowing, Modi moved out of Vigyan and out of coining new bill. So he's the first prime minister who moved out of Vigyan. The nearest example is the इनके क्षेत्र में वो बली का program. Normally such programs had used to happen in Vigyan Bhavan, but annual Panchayat Divas held in a Panchayat in Jammu, and the Prime Minister addresses was to the whole of India. And he's followed this pattern. And others are also. We are convening a meeting, 2-day meeting of the science ministers of the state, not in Vigyan, but in Kevadiya. So he has made governance pan India so that the feeling of belonging goes to the stakeholder, to the citizen. And also adopted the practice which has been there in the West. The visiting dignitaries also do not necessarily land in Delhi. आपने देखा कई देश का मुखिया आता है तो अहमदाबाद सीधा जाता है, आता है तो वाराणसी जाता है. This is the pattern which is being followed in US here. All of them don't stay away. You know better than me. So Pastor Sati having lived career spans as long as the age of the independence of India. And the other part, technology-driven governance. We had an Anti-Corruption Act, which was constituted in 1988. It was amended. I only brought the amendment in the parliament, but of course, with the endorsement of Prime Minister Modi, we made bribe giver also. Otherwise, this was a common trend. You could fix anybody. Now there is something called the IAS officers would have to be there. Why I'm saying technology driven. There is something called PM Excellence Award. पहले वो DC को दिया, 4 DC दे दिया, भाई जम्मू कश्मीर ने किसको दे रहा, इसको भी दे दिया, इसको दिया, आप इस बार इसको दे. We changed that. Now every district of the country, 750 odd, puts in the report of one of the flagship projects undertaken by it, and depending on that, the rating is done. In the same district, 3 times, it could be no district, never. But this is more scientific, objective way of doing it. And just like assistant secretary is the new experiment, being technology driven. Online, nearly 80% of working in government of India has virtually 52 hours. And the result of that was that during COVID, at least in 6-7 ministries that I am dealing with, the work did not get interrupted even for a single day. And since there was lockdown, I used to virtually connect with each of the officers to the lowest one. One day, virtually, I was talking to one of the undersecretary. He said, "Sir, the new formula should be minimum attendance, maximum output." Sitting at home, they were working on weekdays. ये नहीं करे 11 से 5 तक आए, अखबार भी पढ़ी, चाय भी पी. जैसे पुराने जमाने में रहता है कुछ वॉक्सिंग की स्टोरी लिखी थी सर. How government of India works. So I trained this to my department, and next to home department. तो हमारे ऑफिसर आए 11 बजे पहुंचे, बस लेट हो गई, हड़बड़ा रहे थे, बोले जल्दी भी चाय लाओ, बोले अखबार पढ़ने का भी टाइम नहीं मिला, दूसरी पढ़ी 12 बजे, लंच ब्रेक हो गई, चले गए. 3 बजे वापस लौटे और थोड़े बहुत कागज देखे, पड़ोस में हमारे होम मिनिस्ट्री वहां से आए हुए. अभी आपको पता नहीं, आज हॉकी मैच सबसे पहले बेहतरीन प्लेयर आप वहां नहीं जाएंगे तो हार जाएंगे. ये तो हमारी प्रतिष्ठा का सवाल है, तो वहां चले गए. वहां गए, 4-5 गोल लगाए, यूपीडी जीत गया, उसकी बात वाह वाह हो गई. थके हारे फिर घर पहुंचे, जाते कड़िया मोड़ ली. तो जी बदली आई, मुझे कितनी बार कहा इतना काम मत किया करो. बोले तुम्हें क्या पता भारत सरकार कैसे चलती. We have proved to the world, and now the world is emulating us. The other country, we have, you know something, I think this may not have been much publicized. Department of ARP, the Administration of India. Every day we are getting civil servant trainees from Zambia, from Africa, from Bhutan, from Nepal, even from UK, to learn how we function. We produce more output with minimum attendance. And because they also are keen to see that we have a heterogeneous pattern. Every region has a different set of problems. So this has all happened because we had as a head of state who was ready to experiment and to lead us in experiments. And before I close, the 2 other aspects. Through this governance model of 20 years, he has laid down the roadmap for future. Now Modi's futuristic vision. In this book, I think there's one brief reference, but it could have been more. In 2015, from the ramparts of Red Fort, he said, "Stand up India, startup." Many people ask me, what does this mean? There's hardly know. You see the results. The startup policy was formulated in 2016. Dr. Srinivasan is also part of, to an extent, dealing with that. Within 6 years, we had just about 350 startups. In 2014, today we have 70,000. We have 100 unicorns. In the area of biotechnology, it was hardly known. We had 50 startups in 2014. Today we have 5,300. We are going to touch 1,500. And bioeconomy is the new emerging area which will saturate our economy because all other areas have been saturated. We had just 10 billion in 2014, it's going to be 30 billion. It's now 30 billion going to be, and we are targeting it's now 80 billion. Now we are targeting 300 billion by 2030. and India stands number 3 in the world in startup ecosystem. This has happened just in 6 years. He's announced in 15, nobody knew what it was. Policy formulated in 16. But as this government works in right earnest on fast track, within 6 years, we have become a role model for the rest of the world. And as I talked about technology-driven governance, we now have something called Mission Karmyogi, which is universal being implemented. When one officer gets transferred to another position, he would be able to prepare himself for it. वरना क्या होता था, हेल्थ सेक्रेटरी समझता था मुझे डॉक्टर से ज्यादा अच्छा आता है नुस्खा देना, कल वो एग्रीकल्चर सेक्रेटरी बनता तो वो फार्मर. But now he will have the confidence to train himself because we give him a module, he will also be able to assess himself. And then the cadre controlling authorities will have the opportunity to select the right person for the right job to the peak of performance. And from this year, possibly towards the end, as I said, ease of governance or ease of living. We are through the same ministry, POPD, going to have common eligibility test for all the government services. It's going to be a great blessing, particularly for the daughters. where एक दिन बैंकिंग का काम होता था चंडीगढ़ में उसका सेंटर, दूसरे दिन रेलवे का होता था उसका सेंटर श्रीनगर, तीसरे दिन CSS का उसका जो you can't afford running around, and particularly daughters used to compromise. If it is one, and we will have one center each at least every district of India, so that you don't have to go out again. So that is why I said Modi's governance model or governance reform, perform and transform. Modi's governance reforms are actually social reforms. We are not realizing that, but a generation when it grows up, it will realize what it means. And finally now, what for the next? Now when we move into the next 25 years, why Modi is always saying Amrit Mahotsav? Because we are not realizing as much as he is realizing the importance of the next 25 years. India's ascent to that position has already begun. So what do we do? Next 25 years, we have to focus on those who have 25 active years to perform. Most of us may or may not be around. I can't say for others. But all kinds of colors are now available in the market. You can choose to be black, white, grey. But that is the truth. So our asset, our investment is on young startups, young entrepreneurs, young investors. Because Providence has blessed them with the destined privilege to be the architects of Century India, to be the architects of Modi's new India. And they will have the privilege to tell their children, look here, we were in the part of the making of this global India when India turns 100 and 2047. And we must take it upon ourselves that we should have the satisfaction of saying that we contributed to their capacity building so that they could live up to that goal. Because today, even though we say, India is young, with 30% more population, more than 30% low population, we can figure the actual number of elderly is also increasing. So the graph is biphasic. ऐसा नहीं है, the youngsters are coming and they have picked out the oldies. The oldies are still there, they are not ready to quit. Every lifespan is going on, increasing. In Europe, it's already reached 80. We are also 65, 70. So, how best to have an optimum mix? That is Amrit Mahotsav. The senior citizens can contribute to the capacity building of those who have the energy and God's destiny to contribute actively for 25 years. And therefore, I ensure, whether we are around or not, those of us are there, would at least have these to say, look here, Professor can organize one of these events. We also spoke all these things for the benefit of youngsters who are today celebrating the Century India. And that precisely the foundation of that century India would have been laid down by Modi and Guru.
Thank you for your thought-provoking deliberations on the book and the way you related it with the subject of your talk, has truly enriched all of us. So you are a great source of inspiration for us. Now may I request Sri Sujit Bhalaji, Executive Director, International Monetary Fund, to speak on success of pupil-centric approach and also present the concluding remarks of this panel discussion.
Honorable Minister, members of the dais, and guests. It is my privilege and an honor that I've been invited for this special session on dreams and delivery of the French. The Honorable Minister has really covered it in the most exhaustive manner. There's not much I can add. And I think it does reflect very much the book. So what I'm going to do is speak to the narrow concept of my paper and help illustrate and illuminate what the minister said about what has changed in India and what has changed. And I will end, like he did, with some assessment of the next 25 years. Now, the major theme coming out from Minister's remarks is that there's a structural change going on. And many times in the study of various countries, etc., or the evolution of various countries, when the structural change happens, it is not very clear to everybody what is happening. But it is, and I think that was the import of your comments, that look, there is something genuinely changing. And by structural change is something big, something not normal in one sense. And I will illustrate on various examples. From Modi's at 20 years in government, as to what are the indicators and of the structural change. And, about my approach to the chapter or to the article as to what is it that drives Modi to bring about these changes. Now notice, for 75 years, or let's make it 70, basically we had talked about inclusive growth. As an economist, that's something I have written articles on, I've worked with others, etc., as to what is inclusive growth, what is needed for inclusive growth. And while we have done rather well prior to 2014, the present last 6-7 years have been not only the most inclusive growth in India, and I will define that, but also in the world. So, in other words, part of my job or part of my experience, part of my study is not just India, but the rest of the world. And what we truly see is the very definition of inclusive. So I'll give you a few examples. Take Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. That was one of the first slogans. And in my chapter, I look at how important the Independence Day speeches. So if you want to know where the country is going next and where Mr. Modi is leading us next, watch his Independence Day speeches. Some of the most innovative and pioneering ideas have come out from his innovation, from his Independence Day speeches. Swachh Bharat. When no one, for example, that basically we in India have noted, as development economists, we have noted that stunting and various problems in India about development, about inclusive growth, have to do with sanitation. If you look at sub-Saharan Africa and India, and it turns out that sub-Saharan Africa, much poorer than India, did much better in terms of stunting and wasting and nutrition. And it took tragically 65 years since independence for somebody to come out and say that look, the real problem with our development, really important, genuine structural problem with our lack of development is sanitation. Hence, Swachh Bharat. So if you look at it, this was sanitation is, you would think that's one of the most normal, basic thing that you would do. And one of the questions that is coming up, several questions are coming up, in analyzing what Modi has achieved, is why weren't these things done before? After all, we had, democratic governments in the name of the poor governments for the last 65 years, and they didn't approach this problem. So sanitation, a big achievement, and the core of several of Modi's achievements is women. Is the bottom 50-60% of the population, and within the bottom 50-60% of the population is the woman that has suffered the most, whether it is sanitation, education. Remember, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. We were indulging, our society was indulging in feticide, where we killed the little girl at birth, or before birth, rather, by identifying. So that is the thrust of Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. Now, what are the consequences? Today, if you look at the education system in India, the following is observed. There are more women in colleges than men. Second, STEM discipline, which is, and several of us are members of STEM over here on the dais. India has the third highest number of women studying in STEM disciplines in 42%. The comparison with the US is something like 31% in the US. So we are one of the highest. The minister mentioned about unicorns and startups, etc. There is this big change occurring, and a lot of it is led by, first, you provide for the bottom 15-60%. Then you can move forward. And that's exactly the progress of Modi's governance model. That first, basic needs. This was, the economists have talked about basic needs and inclusive growth and poverty elimination. And what we've seen, and I'll give you an example of what we've seen in terms of basic needs and delivery. I've been a big student of the PDS system. Right from it started in the late 70s. And in 1985, Rajiv Gandhi, newly elected Prime Minister of India, said that only 15%, 15% of the monies meant for the poor actually reached the poor. And he was talking about the PDS system. That was then. It didn't change much after that. Study after study showed in 2004-05, that number had reached 24%. Okay. So, what was happening? Massive corruption in the PDS system. Now we have, over the last 7 years, and for the first time, one nation, one card. Because if a migrant had moved from one place to another by definition for work, he or she would not be eligible to get the food ration. It's only one nation, one card that is now allowed that to happen. Then came the pandemic, the COVID era. And basically, what was happening was that the bottom 50, 60, the rich could take care of themselves. So whenever I say the poor, I really mean 50, 60, 2/3 of the population. And what is happening is that the 2/3 of the population, one of the most important basic needs is food. And what did the government do? There was already a system by which each person of the, according to the Food Security Act, so it is around 2/3 of the population, 75% in rural areas, 25%, 50% in urban areas, jointly about 2/3. Each person was entitled to 5 kilograms of wheat or rice per month. And the delivery of that had already improved to something like 80% at the time of the pandemic. So from 25%, this is the Dreams Meet delivery, from 25% in 2004 to something like 50% in 2011. This is all from national data, NSS data. It had moved to something like 75, 80% in 2015 and 2016 when the National Security Act was implemented. So delivery was the most important. Now, I want to come back to the COVID. 5 kilograms was allocated to it. The government doubled it to 10 kilograms. Now, where did they get the number of 10 kilograms from? It happens that for the last 30, 40 years, per capita consumption of food grains has been around 10 kilograms per person per month. So your entire food needs, basic food needs, cereal needs, was provided by the government, and the second 5 kilograms was provided free. What is the effect that it had? First of all, study after study has documented that the transmission, the delivery percentage was something around 90% of additional food as well as the existing. So delivery had really improved marketing. The other effect is what it had on absolute, what is called absolute poverty or extreme poverty. If you see the $1.9 per capita per day. According to that study, that in 2020, less than 1% of the population was extremely poor. Less than 1%. So we have virtually eliminated extreme poverty. And something that was around 23% in 2011. Just in 10 years, we grew. The other comparison is with China. China has around 4 times the per capita income of India. And it eliminated extreme poverty in 2016, just 6 years ago. We have eliminated extreme poverty in 2020 with our per capita income of 1/3. So this is the other thing. So inclusion means performance, means delivery, and delivery precisely to the bottom half or bottom 2/3 of the population. And I want to get to a little bit. So first, a lot of the targeting in the first 5 years of Modi's government was in terms of attacking fundamental basic needs. I think the next 5 years, from 2019 onwards, unfortunately, COVID came in between, was to now change the structure of government, governance, and delivery to the next higher level which includes, for example, macro policies in terms of tax rates. Our tax system is one of the most now, and some of you must have filled out the forms, etc., that it is really one of the easiest. आप क्या कहते हैं जो बाकी फॉर्म्स वगैरह आप इनकम टैक्स कर देंगे बाकी दुनिया में जाओ it is a nightmare. I sat on it yesterday and in 1 hour was there. So this is, you know, the whole system. I mean, in terms of our financial system, we have now leapfrogged such that other countries are coming to find out as to what our financial system is. This is the next higher level after you've taken care of basic needs or whatever you want to call it. Now I want to come to the next 25 years. What is the big story in India for the next 25 years? And the story that I think has been made possible by the structural change that has come out in the last 60, 70 years. India and China. I made a reference to China as to how we have been very close to them in terms of population movement. But per capita income in China is, as I said, about 3 times higher than India. And between 1500 and 1980, 480 years, per capita in India and China was about the same. They have leapfrogged ahead of us over the last 30 years by a much higher growth rate, by delivery, etc., which in our case has only really seriously started to happen over the last decade. By 2047, our 100th anniversary, the big story of India lagging behind China will be per capita in India. This is not the mistake, but the big story for India 2047 is we will have the same per capita income, very light. As the economists, you have phrase these things in probably, but very light, the same per capita income as China. That is the remarkable transformation that is emerging, that is likely to happen. Other 2 or 3 other small points, and maybe perhaps not so small. It's not just the economy that is changing. Our role in the world is changing, has changed. We are now an important player in the world economy. We are no longer seen as somebody hesitant. Both the previous speakers talked about this change that is happening in our foreign policy, in our assertion of ourselves according to our achievements, that we are now a very important player. And if not only will per capita income for the next 25 years be equal to China, we are the fastest growing economy. And expected to be. This is not me saying, this is not wishful thinking, etc. At least the organization I belong to has said that over the next 5 years, they only come up with forecasts, not beyond 5 years. India will be the fastest. So there is with education levels, I just told you as to how there are more women in college than men, with startups happening, entrepreneurship booming, and government getting out of people's service, which has started to happen, and facilitating the entrepreneurship of individuals, that I think the next 25 years and the next decade will be India's 25 years and India's decade. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your enthralling discourse on the book Modi and Dreams Meet Delivery. So we are blessed to have you as well also a contributor to this book. You have focused on inclusiveness and highlighted the vision of the Prime Minister in making this distant dream a reality in India. I now invite Honorable Vice Chancellor of Central University of Jammu, Professor Sanjeev Jain ji, to express his views on today's panel discussion.
Thank you. आदरणीय श्री जितेंद्र सिंह जी, मिनिस्टर ऑफ स्टेट, श्री सुरजीत सिंह भल्ला जी, एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर इंटरनेशनल मॉनिटरी फ्रंट, हमारे चांसलर श्री पार्साराज साथी जी, मुझे इस बुक के बारे में नहीं मालूम था। थोड़े दिन की पहले की बात है, फ्रेंड ने मुझे बताया ये मोदी S20 नाम की एक बुक आई। मैंने सोचा किसने लिखा होगा, मैंने एयरपोर्ट पे मिल रही थी तो मैंने वहां जाके उस बुक को खरीदा। जब मैंने उसको खोल के देखा, मैंने देखा कि जो लोग अपने अपने फील्ड के महारथी हैं, उन सभी ने जो है इस बुक पे अपने अपने विचार लिखे हुए, और जो मोदी जी का 20 साल का कार्यकाल रहा है उसके बारे में एक स्पष्ट करना चाहिए, क्योंकि बाकी जो कुछ है हम सब यूथ को महसूस कर रहे हैं, हम देख भी रहे हैं कि हमारा देश जो है कहाँ पर जा रहा है। अभी हमारे आदरणीय जी पार्षद जी ने बताया कि जो हमारी विदेश नीति है उसमें आज भारत बहुत मजबूती से खड़ा हुआ है। आपको याद होगा कि यूक्रेन और रशिया के बीच में जो युद्ध चल रहा है उसमें कई देशों ने रिक्वेस्ट किया कि भारत जो है मध्यस्थता है। पहले वाले हमारे जमाने में दूसरे देश हमसे बोलते थे हम आपको कोई मैटर पर मध्यस्थता कर दे। तो इससे बड़ा सी चेंज क्या हो सकता है किसी भी फॉरेन पॉलिसी में किसी देश में। तो ये बात जो है बड़ी स्पष्टता से जो है मोदी जी ने पूरे विश्व को बता दी है कि भारत जो है एक बहुत स्पष्ट नीति के साथ विदेश नीति में कार्य कर रहा है। जहां तक कि हमारे आदरणीय मंत्री जी महोदय हैं, मैं एक चीज और बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बताना चाहूंगा, शायद आप लोगों को मालूम है कि नहीं मालूम है, ही इज द लॉन्गेस्ट सर्विंग मिनिस्टर इन PMO। आज तक कोई भी एक व्यक्ति जो है इतने साल का, भाई तो मैं पूरा रिकॉर्ड देखा, उससे मैंने छान के इसको निकाला, हो सकता है कुछ गलती हो सकती है पर मुझे नहीं मिला कोई भी आदमी, तो मेरे हिसाब से मेरी वक्तव्य जो है पूर्णतः सत्य है। तो वाकई में तो उनका जो गवर्नेंस के बारे में कहना था और हम सब लोग इसको महसूस भी कर रहे हैं। आज आपको कुछ भी चाहिए हो, और सबसे बड़ा शायद गवर्नेंस का भी जो मैं देख रहा हूँ कि अभी मैंने कोविड की वैक्सीन लगवाई थी, लगवाए देर में हुई है, मेरा मोबाइल पे मैसेज आ गया कि आप अपना सर्टिफिकेट डाउनलोड कर लीजिए। नहीं तो पहले जमाने में हमको मालूम था कि एक सर्टिफिकेट लेने के लिए कितने कार्यालयों का जो है हमको चक्कर लगाना पड़ता है और कितने पैसे खर्च करने पड़ते हैं, वो सबको मालूम, कहने की आवश्यकता मुझे नहीं। तो मुझे शायद खुद के लिए एहसास हुआ कि इससे अच्छा कोई गवर्नेंस की बात नहीं हो सकती। कोई भी चीज जो है आज की डेट में जो है, किसी को मैप चाहिए, अपने खेतों की खतौनी चाहिए पता लगाने के लिए कि हमारे खेत कहाँ पर स्थित है, हमारे आसपास में कौन है, उस सब के लिए जो है ऑनलाइन सब कुछ अवेलेबल है। और मैं इस बात से बड़ा आश्चर्यचकित हूँ कि ये यदि कहीं पे यदि मान लो हमको उसको शुल्क भी देना पड़ रहा है तो वो भी इतना कम कैसे, पता चला कहीं आपको 10 रुपए जमा करना पड़ रहे हैं गवर्नमेंट खाते में। ये सोच का विषय है, इतना कम, इसका मतलब जो इन्वेस्टमेंट किया गया है वो भी काफी कम किया गया है। या जो भी बात हो रही थी कि जो पीडीएस सिस्टम में जो है सिर्फ 15 पैसे पहले नीचे पहुंचते थे, अब जो भी करा जा रहा है तो वो फुल प्रूफ है, इस बात का एक सत्यता प्रमाणित हो रही है। जहां तक कि हम बात करें, अभी आदरणीय भल्ला जी ने भी हमको बताया कि हमारी इकोनॉमी जो है वाकई में जो है हाईएस्ट पेस से जो है ग्रो होने वाली हो भी रही, और उसका जो है बहुत बड़ा जो उदाहरण है वो हमारा शेयर मार्केट सबसे पहले इकोनॉमी को रिफ्लेक्ट करता है, फ्यूचर को प्रोटेक्ट करता है। तो आप देख सकते हैं इस टाइम जो है सेंसेक्स जो है
जब हमारा कोविड टाइम था, उससे आज की डेट में हमारा सेंसेक्स जो है कहां पर आकर खड़ा हुआ। तो इन चीजों में तो कोई कहने की बात नहीं है। जहां तक हम एजुकेशन सिस्टम की बात करें, तो जो क्वालिटी एजुकेशन की हम बात करते हैं, आप देखिए आज जम्मू में कितने सारे इंस्टीट्यूशन सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा फंडेड उपलब्ध है। तो एक विजन है मोदी जी का कि हम जहां भी एजुकेशन दें वो क्वालिटी एजुकेशन दें, ना कि एक नॉर्मल एजुकेशन दे। एक स्कूल या कॉलेज खोला जाता था, पता भी नहीं है कि उसके बारे में उसके बाद उसका क्या होना है। तो पूरा एक हर चीज का फीडबैक है, हर चीज का एनालिसिस होती है। हम आज की डेट में यदि कोई भी कार्य करते हैं, गवर्नमेंट का हमारे पास कोई भी पैसा आता है, तो उसका कंटिन्यूस फीडबैक हमको देना पड़ता है। तो उससे हमारी क्या है, रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी जो है ना बढ़ती जा रही है। पहले प्रोजेक्ट हमारे पास आते थे, हमको मालूम है कोई इवेल्युएशन नहीं होने वाला, हम कोई ध्यान ही नहीं देते। पर आज की डेट में एक रुपए भी हमारे पास आता है तो हमको मालूम है कि जो है इसको हमको जो है हिसाब देना है। तो ये गवर्नेंस और इस तरह का माहौल इस देश में जो अभी तैयार हुआ है, तो मुझे उम्मीद है कि जो आने वाला अगला 25 साल है, जो हमारे युवाओं के लिए रहने वाला है, और जो वो स्वप्न देख रहे हैं वो 100% पूरे होंगे। क्योंकि देखिए जो स्टार्टअप्स की जो पॉलिसी है, और जो यूनिकॉर्न, अभी 100 यूनिकॉर्न हमारे देश में आ गए हैं, और हमारा जो विश्व में स्थान है वो तीसरे नंबर पे आ गया है स्टार्टअप्स के मामले में। मुझे मालूम है कि आने वाले दिनों में हम नंबर 1 होंगे इन सब चीजों में। इस बात में हम सबको पूरा विश्वास है। इसी बात को मैं अपनी बात को वाणी को प्रणाम देता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब का ये सपना है कि जो भी हमारे हीरोज हैं एरिया के, उनके नाम पर इंस्टीट्यूट, तो ये सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी जो है ये हमारे ब्रिगेडियर जितेंद्र सिंह जी के नाम से हो जाए। आप यहाँ से रिकमेंड कर को डॉक्टर साहब को भेजो पीएमओ में, तो वहां से आ जाएगी। बिल्कुल जो से होगा हमारे इसी में डिस्कस करके, क्योंकि ये एरिया भी उन्हीं के गाँव का आधा इसमें है।
हमारे ऑडिटोरियम शायद आपने देखा होगा भाई साहब, जैसे आप घुसे हैं यहाँ भी देखेंगे आप, नीचे लिखा हुआ।
नहीं वो तो है ही है, नहीं यूनिवर्सिटी का नाम ही उनके नाम से हो जाए तो
नहीं। और हम तो आपकी जो है मूर्ति भी यहाँ लगाना चाहेंगे बहुत जल्दी। हम जो इस बात में प्रयासरत है कि ब्रिगेडियर साहब की जो है।
धन्यवाद सर। आपने इस पुस्तक पर और सरकार की कार्यप्रणाली पर अपने विचार प्रकट करने के लिए धन्यवाद। हम केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय जम्मू में आपके मार्गदर्शन में निरंतर प्रयासरत हैं कि देश के विकास में हर संभव योगदान कर सकें। सर, आज के इस कार्यक्रम को और भी विशेष बनाते हुए केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय में एक और ऐतिहासिक पल जोड़ने जा रहा है। माननीय कुलपति जी के अथक प्रयास से हम जीएसटी भारतीय सरकार की डिफेक्स संस्था के साथ एक एमओयू करने जा रहे हैं, जिसका उद्देश्य मोदी जी के विजन 35 को साकार करना है। मोदी जी ने विकास को शहरी क्षेत्रों से निकालकर गांव-गांव तक पहुंचाने को प्राथमिकता दी है। इस एमओयू के तहत मित्रा फॉर जेएंडके एवं गांव का विकास टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ 2 कार्यक्रम चलाए जाने की प्रतिबद्धता है। डिफेक्स की टीम के सदस्यों का मैं स्वागत करती हूँ। प्रोफेसर प्रदीप श्रीवास्तव, एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर डिफेक्स, श्री संजय सिंह जी वैज्ञानिक, श्रीमती मुक्ति प्रसाद वैज्ञानिक, श्री मुकेश माथुर जी। मैं आग्रह करूंगी कि प्रोफेसर प्रदीप श्रीवास्तव जी मंच पर आए और इस एमओयू के बारे में हमें संक्षिप्त में जानकारी दें।
मैं एक बात बताना चाहूंगा, ये पूरा प्रयास जो है माननीय मंत्री जी का है। नीचे ही द्वारा ये स्कीम जो है हमारे आपका ही मंत्रालय और आप ही का पूरा आप के द्वारा दिया गया। हम यही कहना चाहते हैं, इसमें जो है वाइस चांसलर का कोई प्रयास।
थैंक यू ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर श्री मुकेश जितेंद्र सिंह जी, मिनिस्टर फॉर साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी, अर्थ साइंसेस, DOPD एंड मिनिस्टर फॉर PMO, Dr. G. Parthaswamy, Dr. Bhalla, and my colleague and friend, Mr. Jain. At the outset, I feel extremely privileged and honored to be here this morning. And the auspicious occasion when we are discussing Modi Act 20, subtitled Green Meets Delivery. It is very pertinent on this day when we are collaborating with Central University Jammu to launch our 2 very specific programs, Mitra and Gaon Ka Vikas Technology के साथ, I will not hesitate in saying this, that under the able leadership of our Honorable Minister, Dynamic Minister, the leader of JNK, TIFAC has conceived these couple of programs to be initiated at Jammu. I thank you, sir, for your continuous guidance. I just throw a brief spotlight on these two programs. Mitra for JNK, which is Mission for Innovative Technology Outreach and Applications for Jammu and Kashmir. In fact, these are very specific programs focusing on the development and initiatives for Jammu and Kashmir region. I'd like to mention here the very flagship program of Lavender Aroma Mission, which has been launched by our Honorable Minister from IIM Jammu. In fact, we have taken leave from that program and we have designed two specific programs for Mitra at JNK, and this Mitra will be coordinated by Central University of Jammu. But for this purpose only, we are here this morning to sign the MOU. Mitra specifically works at multifaceted level. The levels to include development of MSME industries in Jammu and Kashmir. We have interacted with the back cluster of Srinagar and Pulwama. We have interacted with the saffron growers, and we have interacted with the Pashmina shawl clusters. TIFAC would like to intercept at the interface through Central University Jammu for these MSME clusters, where we also tied up with NIT Srinagar for technological gap identification and inculcation of technological processes into these products, so that the productivity of these products increases and Jammu and Kashmir gets the benefit of the rising economy. We also like to mention the program of Tele-Digital Health Pilot Program, which was launched and inaugurated by our Minister himself at Varanasi, the Prime Minister's constituency, which is a follow-up on the declaration of Honorable Prime Minister of development of e-health record of the masses. In the same context, we are identifying two districts, one in Jammu and one in Kashmir, to develop the e-health record along with CDAC and IIT Madras for the general masses in the villages, wherein all the health vitals will be mapped, the EHR generated, and then it will be put on cloud along with the support of CDAC, and wherein any doctor sitting in the remotest of the place can access that data, the health data, and can address the cause of the disease or state of disease. So these are the two initiatives which are specifically being mapped with the program of JNK, and we look forward for adding a couple of more initiatives for JNK, and which will be again coordinated by Central University Jammu. Again, very specifically designed the program Gaon Ka Vikas Technology ke Saath, and I'm really very happy to say that this program is being launched but being coordinated by Central University Jammu for JNK region, because if you look into this book, Modi at 20, it talks of the Bhagirathi Prayas of Modi ji. It talks of imagining technology as a grievance tool. It talks of democracy, delivery, and politics of hope. And underlining all these facets, it is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. And we cannot achieve Sabka Vikas until unless we address our village community. The 65% of the population still lives in village. What TIFAC is trying to work upon is that we are trying to infuse technological intervention, mapping of employment opportunities, and mapping of infrastructure, technological infrastructure opportunities for these villages, wherein these villages would be developed, and we are trying to do it for aspirational villages as a model. So these are a couple of programs which we are initiating, and I'm really thankful to Honorable Minister for his blessings and support and guidance for us, for TIFAC and DST to take this initiative. Thank you.
आग्रह करूंगी कि एमओयू को एक्सचेंज किया जाए। आप सब एक तालियों के साथ इस शुभ घड़ी का स्वागत करें। धन्यवाद। आप सबको सूचित करना चाहूंगी कि इस पुस्तक परिचर्चा के लक्ष्य में केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय ने एक पोस्टर मेकिंग प्रतियोगिता का आयोजन किया था। ये प्रतियोगिता विश्वविद्यालय में और आसपास के विद्यालयों में आयोजित की गई थी। इस प्रतियोगिता के विजेता आज हमारे बीच में उपस्थित हैं। मैं मंच पर आती अति विशिष्ट अतिथिगणों से आग्रह करूंगी कि उन छात्रों को जिन्होंने इस प्रतियोगिता में विजय पाई है उन्हें सम्मान पत्र प्रदान करें। विद्यालय श्रेणी में तीसरा स्थान मिलता है दिया बंडोत्रा को, जो केंद्रीय विद्यालय की छात्रा है। दूसरा स्थान मिलता है नदी चकोत्रा को। पहला स्थान लिया है आदित्य खजूरिया ने। जोरदार तालियों से इनका प्रोत्साहन करिए। स्नातक श्रेणी में विजेता है तीसरा स्थान प्राप्त किया है रोशनी ने, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ जम्मू। दूसरा स्थान प्राप्त किया है निखिल यादव ने, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ जम्मू। प्रथम स्थान लिया है पवन स्वामी ने, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ जम्मू। स्नातकोत्तर एवं शोध छात्रों में विजेता है, तीसरा स्थान प्राप्त किया है मोनिका, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन। दूसरा स्थान मिलता है विवेक कौशिंदे को, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ सप्लाई चेन मैनेजमेंट। पहला स्थान प्राप्त किया है नेहा गुप्ता, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ फिजिक्स। कृपया जोरदार तालियों से सारे प्रतिभागियों का प्रोत्साहन करें। मैं धन्यवाद करना चाहती हूँ डॉक्टर किरण का, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय जम्मू का, जिन्होंने इस प्रतियोगिता का आयोजन कराया। ये आयोजन केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय की कल्चरल सोसाइटी सुकृति की तरफ से कराया गया है। धन्यवाद। आज की परिचर्चा में हम सबको लाभान्वित करने के लिए मंच पर उपस्थित सभी बुद्धिजीवियों का मैं धन्यवाद करती हूँ। अब हम कार्यक्रम की समाप्ति की तरफ आ रहे हैं और मैं पुनः आग्रह करूंगी माननीय कुलपति जी से कि वो परिचर्चा में भाग लेने वाले सभी अति विशिष्ट सदस्यों को स्मृति चिन्ह भेंट कर उनका आभार व्यक्त करें। डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी, मिनिस्टर ऑफ स्टेट, पीएमओ, DASC, Earth Science and Teaching। धन्यवाद सर। श्री सुरजीत सिंह जी, एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर, इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड। धन्यवाद सर। एम्बेसडर जी पार्थसारथी जी एंड चांसलर फेडरल यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ जम्मू। प्रोफेसर प्रदीप श्रीवास्तव जी, एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर, सिपैक। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। अंत में मैं डॉक्टर ऋतु बख्शी, प्रोग्राम कोऑर्डिनेटर से आग्रह करूंगी कि वो मंच पे आकर के धन्यवाद प्रस्ताव कर सकते हैं। थैंक यू डॉक्टर नैन्सी। मेरा नमस्कार सभी को। मैं सर्वप्रथम प्रोफेसर संजीव जैन, माननीय कुलपति जम्मू केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय, और हमारे पूरे सीयूजे परिवार की ओर से इस सभागार में उपस्थित सभी विशिष्ट अतिथियों का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करती हूँ, आभार करती हूँ। मैं हार्दिक अभिनंदन करती हूँ डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी का, माननीय राज्य मंत्री, भारत सरकार, कार्मिक, लोक शिकायत, पेंशन मंत्रालय, परमाणु ऊर्जा विभाग एवं अंतरिक्ष विभाग की सर यहाँ पर आए और हमारा मार्गदर्शन किया। सर का यहाँ आना हमें हमेशा ही प्रोत्साहित करता है। और सर, जब हम जम्मू वाले आपको टीवी पर माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के साथ देखते हैं तो उसके लिए शब्द मेरे पास नहीं है, किस तरह की एक भावना हमें आती है। तो डियर कलीग्स, यहाँ मैं जम्मू वासी होने के नाते थोड़ा सा प्रिविलेज ले रही हूँ। सर बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत आभार और जोरदार तालियां हमारे डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी के लिए। मैं आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ श्री सुरजीत सिंह भल्ला जी का, कार्यकारी निदेशक, इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड। सर, आपका बहुत बहुत आभार हमें यहाँ पर प्रोत्साहित करने के लिए, आने के लिए। मेरा आभार एम्बेसडर जी पार्थसारथी जी को, कुलाधिपति जम्मू केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय। सर बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आपका मार्गदर्शन हमें हमेशा ही मिलता रहा है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपके प्यार के लिए, आपकी स्नेह के लिए। हमारे बीच यहाँ पर उपस्थित डॉक्टर अशोक भान जी, सर बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। डॉक्टर श्री गंगा जी, प्रोफेसर सिन्हा जी, श्री जम्वाल जी और स्टेट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन से आए हुए विशिष्ट अतिथि, मैं इन सभी का आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ कि उन्होंने अपना कीमती समय इस कार्यक्रम के लिए निकाला और हमें अपना इस कार्यक्रम को अच्छा बनाने में अपना योगदान दिया। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। हमारे बीच यहाँ विभिन्न विश्वविद्यालयों के कुलपति, डायरेक्टर्स और डिफेक्ट से आए प्रतिनिधि भी बैठे हैं, तो मेरा हार्दिक अभिनंदन और आभार उन सभी को भी। इसके अलावा हमारे समक्ष बैठे हैं हमारे यहाँ सभी विभागों के डीन्स, हेड्स और फैकल्टी मेंबर्स। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, क्योंकि आपके सहयोग के बिना ये कार्यक्रम पूरा नहीं हो सकता था। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और मेरा आभार हमारे कुल सचिव डॉक्टर यशवंत सिंह जी और उनकी पूरी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव टीम को। सर बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि जिन्होंने हमें कार्यक्रम के लिए अपना पूरा सहयोग दिया, मोबिलाइजिंग ऑल द रिसोर्सेज जो भी चाहिए थे। धन्यवाद सर। मीडिया पीपल, जो कि हमेशा ही जिनके आए बिना कोई भी कार्यक्रम सक्सेसफुल नहीं होता है, बहुत बहुत आभार हमारे मीडिया के लोगों का। और हमारे स्कॉलर्स जो हमारी सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी जम्मू की शान है, और शोधार्थी जितने भी यहाँ बैठे हैं, उनका बहुत आभार। और सर, मैं आपसे साझा करना चाहूंगी कि हमारे शोधार्थी, जैसे कि भल्ला जी कह रहे थे, यहाँ पर सोशल साइंसेज डिपार्टमेंट में पॉलिसी रिसर्चेस बहुत ज्यादा हो रही है, उस पर फोकस कर रहे हैं। बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ, स्वच्छ भारत अभियान और विमेन सेंट्रिक बहुत सारे शोध इस यूनिवर्सिटी में चल रहे हैं सर। इसके अलावा सिक्योरिटी और हाउस कीपिंग का भी बहुत बहुत आभार। और अंत में मैं अपने कुलपति महोदय जी का धन्यवाद करना चाहती हूँ और मैं आश्वस्त करना चाहती हूँ कि सर, आपके मार्गदर्शन में, आपके गाइडेंस में हम इस शोध को और बहुत सारी आउटरीच एक्टिविटीज करके मोदी जी का जो सपना है भारत को विश्व गुरु बनाने का, उसको निश्चय रूप से हम अपने छोटे छोटे प्रयासों से क्योंकि हमारे प्रयास और फिर सर आपका हम पर विश्वास, इससे जरूर हम विकास की ओर चलेंगे। तो सर, हम प्रतिबद्ध हैं ये सब कार्य करने के लिए। सर आपका बहुत बहुत आभार। और एक और मेरी ऑर्गेनाइजिंग जो हमारी टीम थी पूरी, मैं नाम लेना चाहूंगी यहाँ पर, डॉक्टर जगन्नाथन जी का, डॉक्टर किरण, डॉक्टर श्वेता, डॉक्टर अंजू, डॉक्टर आसिफ मंत्री, डॉक्टर अर्चना, मिस्टर संजीव जी एंड मैडम शफला। कि आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद इस कार्यक्रम को बहुत अच्छे से हमें सबको सहयोग देने के लिए। और सर यहाँ पर कल हमारे चांसलर जब डिस्कशन कर रहे थे कि यहाँ जम्मू की जब हम बात करते हैं कि हमारे युवाओं के मन में जो चीजें चल रही हैं, खासकर कश्मीरी लोगों के दिल में, उसको कैसे निकाला जा सकता है। तो शिक्षक होने के नाते सर हम आपको श्योर करना चाहते हैं कि क्लासरूम में हम लोग युवा से डील करते हैं और माना कि अंधेरा घना है परंतु दिया जलाना कहाँ मना है। तो इसी एक विचार के साथ, मोदी जी के विचार के साथ आज हम इस कार्यक्रम को समाप्त करते हैं। मेरा अनुरोध है यहाँ उपस्थित सभी अतिथियों से कि वे अपने स्थान पर खड़े होकर राष्ट्रगान।
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा। विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा। तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे। गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय, भारत माता की जय। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद एक बार पुनः। और अभी मैं अनुरोध करूंगी सभी से कि हाई टी का इंतजाम वहाँ है, जलपान की व्यवस्था है, तो कृपया जलपान करके जाएं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और यदि कोई मुझसे छूट गया हो उस धन्यवाद ज्ञापन में तो मैं क्षमा प्रार्थना करती हूं। धन्यवाद।
ठीक बोला तो पहले कल रात को मैं सोचूं आपसे
टेप लगड़ी तो कितनी बड़ी बची है। धन्यवाद।